Hi everyone, so this video is going to be about multiples. So multiples and factors are two terms that tend to go hand in hand because they're very intertwined. So multiples of a number have that number as a factor. Kind of confusing. So imagine it like this. So the numbers that you multiply together when you're doing your multiplication table, those would be the factors of the number that is the answer. So the multiples are the answers. So that was very confusing. So but imagine it like this. If you're doing the 3 times table, 1 times 3, 2 times 3, 3 times 3, 4 times 3, and you're getting 3, 6, 9, 12. So these answers in your multiplication table, those are the multiples of 3. So these numbers have 3 as a factor. So that's what we mean by multiples. So when you're listing out multiples, you're kind of just listing out the answers to the multiplication table for that number. The thing that you will tend to see more often is this idea of lowest common multiple, not to be confused with highest common factor. So lowest common multiple is the lowest number, the smallest number that would appear in each list of multiples. So when you're talking about highest common factor, factors is a finite list. There are only so many factors for each number. Multiples are different. Multiples could go on forever. If I'm listing out the multiples of 3, I can always add 3 more to the previous multiple and get a new one. So that's sort of going to be a never-ending list. So we would never ask you for the highest common multiple because you would be sitting for years trying to figure that out. And you still wouldn't because you could always just add a few more to get a bigger number. So lowest common multiple, highest common factor. So again, by the time you get to grade 8, I am less concerned with how you generate your answer. There are a few different methods that you can use for finding the lowest common multiple. Your textbook outlines a great example using prime factors. If that is your cup of tea, I encourage you to check that out. I'm going to go through an example here of sort of a more not basic, I don't want to say basic, but just a different method. This method is also outlined in your textbook with this exact example. So if we're asked to find the lowest common multiple of 9 and 12, we first need to start by making a list of the multiples of 9 and 12. So for 9, we're going to start with 9, and then the next one will be 18, and then we'll move on to 27, and then 36, and then 45. And I could keep going here forever, but I'm just going to do a few, and then I'm going to check the other number and see if I have anything in common before I get to 45, and then if I don't, we'll just keep going a little higher until we eventually find a number that appears in both lists. So the multiples of 12 will be 12, and then 24, and 36, look at that. 36 appears in both lists, and it is the first number that appears in both lists. So then the answer to this, the lowest common multiple of 9 and 12, is 36. So again, that's one method you can choose. You can do prime factors. That's another method you can choose. I'll say it one more time. I am less concerned with the method you choose. I am more concerned that you can demonstrate that method by showing your work and arriving at a correct answer. Okay, so that does it for lowest common multiple.